Right, we're back with this mess. And because of recently trying to look through, what was it called? Project Overkill? The game that they bundle it with is Blake Stone. Which I find weird. Why would you want to play it together with a game that people may not even want to play? So... what the fuck? Okay, so I've never played Blake Stone. I have no idea what it is. I just know there's some aliens, perhaps some gold. Controls... mouse enabled. No idea what this means. No idea what any of this means. So we're going with the Star Institute, which is the first. First one. Apparently you're allowed to use... something. You're allowed to use guns, so... I'll use a mouse. Okay. Or not. We're getting new guns. This doesn't look particularly appealing. Just looks like Blue Wolfenstein. Oh, gross. Okay. Like, most of the controls are jammed to one side of the keyboard, which I find deeply confusing, but there you go. These things happen. Controls are dog shit half the time. Oh. We'll stay on this floor if we can. Because I have not found the card yet. Maze-like games. How I despise their design. Oh! What is that sound? What's this? Wow! There's some strange whackery with the audio, because sometimes it sounds like my gun is firing, sometimes it isn't. So I've not seen a single heal token yet, of any description. Which confuses me. Oh, there we go. We've got a candy bar. That's fire. That's fire. Controls again. Okay. Due to some shenanigans. Oh, okay. Fine. You can't actually select certain letters to do stuff. So I need to have a look through the screen viewer, because I can't see shit on this thing. Strafe is old. So how do I use the rest of it? How do I use items and stuff? That's the thing the game has not instructed me on here. Instructions. 2 of 3. Oh, because W is 180 degrees. Oh, there are food units everywhere. Okay. So, obviously, there are heal points dictated by food tokens. A steak is 20 points. A water bowl is 5. Resume game. Back to mission. There we go. I really dislike these old games. Oh, it's out of order. Oh, thanks, game. There's steak back there, I see as well. I would like to consume it. Health is of the essence. This is the elevator. Okay. At least it's provided me with a map of some description, which is not a good one. Deactivating floor area, okay. Well, I'm losing health. Because I can't see these guys. Well, I can see them. I just can't shoot them. Intruder! Well, I found at least some health. Even if it's not much. Then why would you reintegrate everything? That is the questions I'm asking here today. Let's use the save game button. Blah, blah. Okay, as dad. As dad. Money bags. What I'm more interested in is the how much gold I can get. I'm guessing that science guy could have been talked to instead of me shooting his face off. Ow! Hello, do you have steak? Oh, then we guess. Troll trap. Troll trap. Yep. One of those moments where you realise something's not quite correct, and then you do it, and it's still not correct. Ow. Yeah, just trying to turn you off. Okay. Ammunition? Still no access card yet. No! Small tiny drum roll. Give me your food credit. Everything on this floor, but doing other things, I guess. Any other switches and stuff that I can press? Food unit machine is out of order. It's the first floor. If you're getting hurt, you're a dumbass. I think I've explored everywhere on this floor. Quick look around just to make sure. Now it looks like I'm going around in circles and looking like an idiot. Okay, didn't shoot him, but there you go. Oops. So it won't let me configure most of the options, so I'm going to rule it under control is ass. Alright, let's take the elevator to floor 2 if I can. Because I'm not getting anywhere. And I have been in most rooms. So turn left, turn right, turn left, and then turn right at the end of the corridor. Okay. So that's the thing Wolfenstein could have used with, but then again, this is after Wolfenstein, so... Oops. Wasn't certain if he was going to attack me or not. Handy solo shot first.
Not me! Die, human.
Plenty of food tokens. But still... No. Ooh. There's the red card to leave the level. Realistic explosions into gold bars. You're going to make aliens out of gold. You may as well take all the gold they have. What we were asking for is for America to come and find you. We heard you had gold reserves. Hand them over. Find the elevator again. There was a massive sign above my head at some point which allowed me to find it. There we go. Elevator. Forms alive? None! I'm sorry, but no information must be left alive about it. Gold. I need a bigger gun. This pea shooter is not significant enough. Oh. The turret behind me was shooting. Oh, damn it. This is the room I entered in last time, but from a different direction. Doesn't matter, I'm basically dead. Okay.
Dramatic!
I'll point out, they're giving me a lot of food tokens, but nowhere to spend them. Damn it. Keep getting shot too much by the turrets.
Guard!
Sandwich on the floor.
Guard!
He was not willing to cooperate. Shoot on sight. Oops. Never mind.
Guard! No!
Oops, that was an actual informant. And then I shot him. You know, I'd be taking less damage if I could actually modify the control scheme. Maybe? Okay. Oh yay, food food tokens. For shit I haven't found yet. Oh, and it opens up a bunch of other stuff. Oh, I'm dead. It opens up Microsoft app. Fuck's sake. It's such a stupid thing. I think most of my stuff has been saved. Yeah. So it's just a case of getting on with it.
Guard!
Oh, I found the food unit anyway. Aha! Rapid assault weapon. Oops. Sorry. Sorry, Mr. Informant. Hit your trigger finger. First day on the job. Ow! First day on the job, and this is exactly why.
Not me! Guard!
takes too long for it to be distinguished between friend and foe to leave informants alive. Let's just shoot them. They drop stuff anyway.
Oh! Intruder!
I think I know where the yellow card is. I just need to find it. I've seen it. That's the problem here. It has already been found. There it is. Also, it's the same thing with Wolfenstein 3D. I can't tell what is actually being hit and what's not.
Guard! Guard! Oh! Not me!
Food machine is out of order. And what good is it? It does not dispense the food is required.
No!
Can't be trusted. That's the red key card to get out of here. You want. Great, down the ready place for sandwiches and shit. I know there's some around.
Not me!
Don't care. Maybe if your colleagues didn't attack me all the time, I wouldn't shoot you. Still some doors I can enter in and exit out of, so... There's one literally around the corner from me. It's a one-way door. It is. Both of them are. They both have turrets behind, so maybe I shouldn't go anywhere near them. Oh, you can receive that plenty early then. Series of contrived one-way doors. Oh, for God's sake. Oh, there was a life system. And it wasn't telling me what it was. So now I've got to kind of save scum through everything because I have no lives left. That's nice. Do not shoot informants. Well, fuck you, buddy. Okay, now I can't remember which way I'm going.
Not me!
That was another one. I've heard this piece of music before as well. Probably in a very old YouTube video. Dude had a sandwich. Not gonna complain about that. Okay, how does this map look? Oh, literally the door in front of me is the only way of getting out of here. That was load. Whoops. Never mind. Ow! It was a trooper that I didn't see. Geesh, how do you get an extra life in this game? It seems really, really fucking bad. Which mission did I load here? It is this mission, okay.
Intruder! Medic! You're dead!
There's a nice big old gun back there, but I don't think I'm going to be able to access it. Guess I'm already aware Blake is an idiot. I don't care.
Intruder! Medic!
So that's the first bit, so let's save here.
I'm hit! You'll never get me.
Oh great, you just kind of randomly teleport in and out of this floor, do you?
Intruder! You're dead!
Ah, fuck. Can I reload before you hit me with that, please? Oi. Such a mean game. 3 lives, that's it. Fuck off. So it is one of the Wolfenstein ilk, as I may as well call it. Games that were trying to be Wolfenstein but kind of failed. Blake Stone only got one game anyway, so time has proven that theory. I'm standing right next to you. Please, please die.
You're dead.
What are these rooms for? They just turn up randomly. Help if I could actually, you know, strafe. May as well play Doom at this point because most of its alternatives just make me angry more than anything else. And then the game has decided to start running slowly. No clue why. Oh my word. Weird shit happening and it's really frustrating. Oh, for Christ's sake. I can't go in that room without getting killed. Why? They're meant to die. Why are they not dying? Is there like early enemy spawns in this game or something? Nope, it's just dickish. Nope, there is enemy spawners in this room. Oh, fuck's sake. So I gotta run in there, get the card, and get out again. That's stupid. Gross. Raw meat. Well, I'll happily take raw meat here. But now I can't access behind here. Oh, there we go. See, that's the thing, they come fucking running up to you, and then they just shoot you in the face. Fucking informant gameplay is not good.
I'm down!
Really, game? There was another one behind me. No! Oh, I got stuck again. We're going for almost an hour, and I'm still only on the 3rd floor. This is great. How can I beat Wolfenstein but not this? Wolfenstein is arguably the worst. The worst out of these two games. Add sad. I'm guessing I have to go the long way round. Now I'm fully topped off with everything.
Guard! Not me!
Oh, fuck you.
I'm down!
Don't care, you stupid ass game.
Oh!
Immediately a yellow key card. This should make me suspicious. Enemy generators again. So now I've got to run through more rooms. Oh, it's so ridiculously dumb.
Guard! Not me! No! You'll never.
Oh, a series of one-way doors. Gross. And each of them has a turret behind. Leads me out to the lobby. Just a way forward through everything. Also, how did you get out? Ah! High energy plasma aliens. Especially when now we've got enemy spawners in the mix. Blow balls. You know, they saw fucking Descent and thought, you know what's not shitty enough? Enemy spawners. Actually ones that just wipe my health off very quickly and very fast without warning.
Intruder!
Oh, this is an all-access area. Right. It's running slowly again. Come on, DOSBox, catch up, please.
You'll never believe.
That's the next one that has a turret behind. There it is. I'm trying to figure out what it was for. I've got to go back into another set of rooms again. Come on, get in the fucking room! Good lord. Oh, this is the same place, isn't it? Yep. Or somewhere else in this area. Yeah, fucking fantastic. That's just a puddle of oil. Hmm.
Not me!
Sadly for the minute, I cannot hear squat that's going on, even if the enemies weren't silent. My washing machine has decided it wants departing. I don't think I could have left that floor with anything better, so...
Intruder! Guard!
What I could equally use with at the moment is a little bit of ammo. Ooh. Say and you shall receive. Someone's shooting at me. Where is he? There he is. Dual neutron dispenser. Okay. Looking for is a door at the moment. Don't know why I'm looking back at chat. No one here today. Are you an access card? Map. Oh, right. It's literally right next to me. Quick save though. Child Form. This is Blake Stone. This is Blake Stone and the Aliens of Gold. I don't quite remember when this one was released. Hello, Kafka. I was just like, you know, it's like, there's no one there tonight. Oh, wait. Now someone is there tonight. Ah, shit. That makes me feel awful. What I've all described this one as is, proto, sort of like evolved Wolfenstein. Which isn't hard. Any FPS at that point would look better than Wolfenstein. Controls about as well as Wolfenstein 3D did, that's a certain. You're having some... Is it just like storms or something in your area, Kafka, that keep making your lag happen? Or is it just general internet woes? Not anymore. Odd that. Not taking any chances, fuck you, scientist.
Guard!
You keep shooting me like that. That was 60% of my damage, my health just disappeared because he decided he wanted to shoot me. Okay, fair enough. It started sort of like drizzling here. Not drizzling. It sort of started to rain here, and then it stopped. Which was good and bad, because I was stuck outside for a couple of hours. Paying off my mortgage. For which I told the assistant over the counter how old I was, and she was like, damn, in this day and age. I think I've got one of the, what most people describe as the end game items from Nightmare Reaper now, by grinding out the Jade Arena, so I think we're going to be going through that like a prune and laxative sandwich. It's floor 6. No, I'm on floor 6, we're saying. No, that's I mean, it is gory. I've just blown an alien open. Take that way in context that you want. I mean, if I do end up wanting to pick up Project Overkill, like for cheaper, and buy this game with it, it means at least I would have been at least one part of the game. Humans with it's like with the humans and the blood and oh dear, he's dead. Right. Yell. I mean, there's a lot of songs that have like similar DNA for a lot of things. I think like one of the previous flaws I had heard in like a Gmod video ages ago. I think it may have had something to do with Lewis and pills. Dead things. Pills here! Grab and peel. Pills. Maybe I could show a video on that. Maybe sometime, like the constant use of Lewis and pills from Left 4 Dead 1. How ubiquitous the phrase became. Point. The Immigrant song by Led Zeppelin. So I'm just going, well, that shows how pig ignorant I am, because I have not heard a single Led Zeppelin song in my life. Like, I think an old work colleague of mine was very into Led Zeppelin, but other than knowing the fact that there's a song called Stairway to Heaven, that's about all I know about them. I sit in the cultural vat of isolation. My level of knowing is somewhat okay, but actually putting it down to what it is, fuck knows. If you play Give Me Shelter by the Rolling Stones, I'm like, oh yeah, that's the Rolling Stones. I'll tell you what my rock does have. That's blackjack. Hookers. Ow. Hey, you know, I forget the blackjack and hookers. That's good old thing.
I'm down!
I may eventually get round to watching the new, like the Hulu Futurama. It may not be as good. But I'm willing to at least give it a chance.
Intruder!
Yeah, they still have all the same VAs because I think John. Oh, fuck's sake. I think John DiMaggio was quite. Oh, I had gained a life somewhere along the way. I think John DiMaggio was quite insistent. They retained all the original VAs, otherwise he wasn't going to voice Bender, which they knew was going to be a death knell for the idea. Yeah, John DiMaggio is actually quite an in-demand voice actor. I think during one of the streams, I think I linked like one of the other series he's well known for, which is Gears of War. Yeah, Gears of War, where he plays Marcus Phoenix. And yeah, he does a lot of stuff.
Intruder! Oh!
It depends entirely on like what the actual salaries were of people like Katie Seagal, and well, Billy West is also a very much in-demand voice actor. Very talented one at that. He's capable of like producing 2 noises at once, which is actually fucking scary. Wouldn't know if wanted to know if he'd be left around my children or not. Yeah, Billy West is Fry. I still love the description was, hey, can you act like yourself from 20 years ago in terms of your voice acting for Fry? I was like, okay, that's an interesting story. Do tell, Mr. West, do tell. But he's also Hubert J. Farnsworth as well in Futurama, so...
Not me!
I think after a while, sometimes your like vocal cords can, if you do a roll for too long, just sort of keep you that way. And my machine's about to start going berserk for a minute. Because I've certainly had to listen to myself back quite a bit. Even when I do like attempt to do an impersonation, it still sounds like me. Like a lot of it is just the you have to get like the audio tics that most voice actors have for a role. Which is difficult, and that's usually why a lot of them stay in their job until the point that they die or have to retire. Like Disney ones are probably the easiest one to say, yeah, they kind of have to earn their keep for their job. Pick up the other access card. Especially when you're called on to make, like, remember how you sounded in a role. I think one of the easiest ones I can point out as being, he sounds sort of the same. Well, there's a couple I can point out that sort of sound the same, but are in different roles. I mean, the obvious punching bag for me for that one is Johnny Wong Bosch, because he sounds exactly the fucking same, regardless of which role he's in. I think the other one is Greg Toon. Greg Toon is, like, very easy to pick out because he's the voice of Ike. And that's what he's most known for. Sounds roughly the same across his roles. Like, it gets to a point where you might be able to tell each voice actor and actress apart from their roles. And then sometimes some people have like the same audio tics, so then they're just like they sound exactly the same as another voice actor. Oh, you've never heard... I like when was the last time I heard Vic Mignogna? Oh, Vic Mignogna, the last time I heard, like, sort of more recent stuff was Charlotte. It's like a short anime series. He's like the... When he starts... His character starts screaming in that, you can tell it's him. Because the only time he changes his voice for screaming is when he was Broly. And he hated that role. But then again, I haven't watched Dragon Ball in ages, and I don't really much care for it any longer. I find it more funny that there's so many sort of online anime aggression wars where everyone's like shitting on each other for which shonen they watch. I'm just sat here like, yeah, I'm watching Cells at Work.
Guard! Oh.
Okay, which door have I not gone through? There's no informants on this floor. Thank you for telling me, game. Now that means I can kill everything. San Regal. Not a name I've heard, but there you go. Not gonna lie. Yeah. Yellow. Oh, I don't have the yellow key card. Really? Damn it. Just missed it in one of the earlier rooms. Excuse me. But then again, I think a younger me, like even though I could spot like a lot of voice actors and voice actresses by their tonal manners, younger me was always convinced that he was followed around by helicopter, by block party. So take that with a grain of salt. Oh, there's another easy one to pick out. Richard Epcar. Richard Epcar is a very easy voice actor to point out as well. Usually gets given deep, gravelly roles, so I know him best as Bato from Ghost in the Shell. Okay, good. My washing machine has stopped. No, it hasn't. It's still going.
You're dead! Medic! Stop!
Damn it. Oh, I hadn't saved all floor. Fuck. Oh, Lucas Gilbertson. Oh yeah, because of course he's the voice of Zero. Zero as well as Zorro. There is absolutely no plan in the works for another
Guard!
Mega Man X game. Or you may as well call it Mega Man X9. How to write yourself out of a hole. That ship is canon. No idea who Marino is. Unless that's one from Command Mission. We will eventually get to Command Mission. Yeah, we'll eventually get to Command Mission. There you go, I just like to tidy up my old RPG stuff first before I start playing new ones. Although I think with Command Mission I may have to buy the other version, because I have the harder version. No, not with Command Mission. Command Mission is actually a very good RPG, and I would not want to ruin it by playing the GameCube version. Which has, if I remember correctly, you get a quarter of the experience that you need to actually level from each fight in the GameCube version. I think playing Unlimited Saga is enough. Despite knowing what I'm doing. I originally hunted down the GameCube version because I was like, oh yeah, you can play it on the Wii as well. And then I realised what actually happened to it, and I was like, right, so that PS2 version. Because it's actually a very, very good Breath of Fire game. It's just that no one really played it. Yeah, the GameCube version has quite a sting in the tail. Like, I'm on the search at the moment for slightly more obscure games to send in for viewer requests for some streamers. Oh, Dr. Goldfire. And, where is he in this room? And Command Mission, I imagine, would be a very good request compared to Battle Network. Because I think I made Jenny play Battle Network 1. She didn't get very far. Did not even get to Fireman. You know, Mr. Occupation here. I imagine at some point I will probably replay Battle Network 1. Mostly because I know what I'm doing now. See how times change for it. Have I literally just finished this game? I've lost all my health, so I'm going to say yes. Oh, I haven't picked up the keycard yet. Would help if I did. It's gotten cold here again. For some reason. The English weather, it's dog shit at the best of times. Great work, Blake, you completed the mission. There we go. Made possible by ass. There we go. So that's Blake Stone done. Let me just... I need to refresh everything, because there's a load of stuff that's not happening here. 2 more people have come online. Let me turn the display off. Oh. I'm going to have to grab this VOD afterwards. There's not enough not enough disk space left for recording. So I'll have to grab the VOD. Let me just sift through this. Yep, all the Like a Dragon ones can go. Kind of have to. That Nightmare Reaper one needs to go in the bin, since now I've uploaded it. The Gradius ones are starting to be uploaded, so that can go. This is just me saving space for next week. Superman's still on here. How long was it ago that I played Superman? Beyond Good and Evil is signed to be published. What have I just saved? Oh yeah, I've removed about 0.5 terabytes worth of stuff that has already been published. I don't have much longer left either. unfortunately, the Apogee Shareware Showcase is going to have to close down for today. What have I got left? Alien Carnage, Arctic Adventure, Biomass, Cosmo, Crystal Caves. Death Rally I think I've done before. It doesn't have a Shareware episode. Commander Keen 2. Duke Nukem I still got to do. Major Striker. There's a bunch here that I've not done. Rise of the Triad is technically a full game. So is Shadow Warrior. Yeah, so this is starting to at least wind down for the minute. Let me just get the full forecast for my area. It is 9 degrees tonight, 16 and 13 tomorrow, but raining all day. 19 and 12 on Friday. 21 and 13 on Saturday and Sunday. 24 and 15 on Monday. And 19 and 10 on Tuesday. So it's starting to get autumnal again. Oh, no. I'm going to do one more thing first. We still have a floor to finish in Nightmare Reaper. That's what I'm going to do. I still want to finish Murky Docks. I'm just going to pick something very quick and short, so I may as well do more floors in Nightmare Reaper. No. I was just turning off the actual main program here. Because like I wasn't going to be able to complete another Shareware at all tonight. So it will come back next week. Wow, the healing aid is pretty big here. No, Sharewares take, like, that Shareware took an hour, literally an hour and a half to do. So, I was like, I'm not going to have any more time for anything, for another full one. May as well do something else in the meantime. I'm not entirely certain how many more, Sharewares I will do, but I will do some. Right, there's a bunch of unknown ones there that I'm like, I've not even heard of these. Oh, I am basically out of ammo. Because I use my minigun almost religiously. Oh god! No, it at least has some variety. I think they started off mostly publishing entertainment games and the Commander Keen one for id. But after that, they just went nuts making games. They just became a publisher. And then, of course, their downfall was not being a publisher. Signing up with 2K. So, yeah, things obviously were better when they were an actual publisher. It just didn't have any distributable capabilities after a while. Let's do Doom likes. Yeah, I want to say Blakestone was actually made on the Wolfenstein engine. Just a very heavily modified one. And then published by Apogee. And then with Duke Nukem they made the build engine, which also gave us stuff like Blood, which actually just went on sale recently. It's like £3.
Nightmare.
The only thing I know about Blood is that Blood 2 was made against against the wishes of the people that made Blood 1, so they tanked the fucker. But, you know, fair props. If you're going to stick it to a publisher, stick it good. They just go, oh, they forced us to make this. No, just say, fuck it, we don't care. Just make it as trash as possible. The minigun. What are these buttons everywhere? That's a positron rifle. I went from the aggressor pet, and now I have... And now I have the healing pet. Things are starting to get a little easier again. Well, I don't think in Capcom's case it was deliberate. It's got into tears. Yeah, why am I not surprised? Like Inafune, what's his name? Platinum Games guy. Guy who makes Bayonetta. Like every single time that this happens, it's like, oh yeah, I can do things without the company that helped me. I'll just make my own games, and then they realise it's not as easy as they think. They just had the resources to do so at their previous company. Oh, Hideki Kamiya, that's the one I was thinking of. Marginally, I say Tim Schafer's done it, but then Tim Schafer is not a very good businessman. Okay, Hornet Queen, can you give me something really good? No. Murky Doc's done.
Understandably, for most people, she's a monster. I instead feel pity for her.
Skill tree. No, I'm not one to say anything about the video games industry. I've had a certain amount of interaction with people inside it, but that's it. And most of that was stay on their good side, so we can get keys. There's the walk speed. Okay. Where's the next one in this place? Murky Docks now, which just leaves what? Can't go that way. Okay, I think I remember being on some site, I can't remember what. But when Twitter took off its block, there was much rejoicing because people could bother attacking Kamiya again. What's up here? Damn it. Oh, healed. Vermilion Princess. This was the one that I was looking at. More new enemies. I mean, I'm not surprised. I only used Twitter once, and that was to say, hey Gilgabot, tell me what my run is. Gravity staff. What is gravity staff? It's something. Okay. Ow. I can't see shit because all I can see is my gun barrel. I was put maybe some money on who I think out of like the old guard of video game franchises did well. I first thought it would be Hideki Naganuma. Like, ain't nothing but a funky beat. Where's the fucking scientist guy? He's here somewhere. You can hear him. Oh, there he is. Just casually standing up here. How do you do? Oh right, I haven't picked it up yet. Would help if I did. Legion critical chance. It's good, but it's not really what I need. Spleesh. Right. I think we'll start to wrap up after this floor, I guess, or somewhere around that time. A very quiet night on the old Apogee Shareware show, guys. I would have been this way. Not the direction I need to be going in. I mean, to be fair, there's been a couple of people here, so I am not completely without having had people watching, so I'm not. This is like the thing that I said I was not going to get back into marathons, and then I'm doing a marathon. of a bunch of obscure old PC games. Like, most people probably haven't even heard of the name Apogee. Which, you know, I'm here to do my education, but oh shit, fell in the water. I'm guessing just outright doing Blake Stone probably didn't help. I want to see Jojo. That is actually a Blood 2 reference, Jojo. He's the clown. But we'll take little dips and valleys for the minute, you know. I don't expect everyone to be here at all times. I honestly understand that I have rolled Snake Eyes in the game of streaming, so...
While her actions can't be forgiven, there was no other path for her, even if she felt agency in this.
Alright, yeah, that's where we'll leave it tonight. Let's see. Let me see who is currently online. Well, we got a few here today. I made the emotes. Let's see, who have I got? Dark Slash. I want to steer clear of Dark Slash at the moment because he's streaming Sea of Stars. It's the new hot thing. So let's put a poll up. What are you Pickle doing at the moment? Oh, I've got way more people online than I thought I had. Doing Across the Obelisk.
Bookworm. Bookworm's so good.
Which looks like a Slay the Spire
Got
stuff.
Tome of Intellect, don't we? So that's one energy. One energy. Everyone gets loads of those. They get loads of
I did, where was it? Fucking Wobbly Python yesterday, so I'm taking him off. You know, just look at it and then you disappear. Do I put that one on? I see someone doing Final Fantasy 2 that I'm not following, but they're suggested to me. else can I do here? See if anyone's actually playing Blake Stone and the Aliens of Gold. No. Oh, Planet Strike is also Blake Stone, so there's a second Blake Stone game in here. God damn it. Yeah, we'll put that on. So there are 2 Final Fantasy games on here. Off you go. Have fun. Choose your poison for tonight. Tomorrow's going to be Yoshi's Island. Hopefully I'll wrap it up. I like the fact that I have such weird, completely unrelated streams these days. I have art, I have body art, I have also games. I don't know how we managed to get to that level. No, a lot of my stuff seems to be like the community that I've managed to sort of cobble together seems to be from many different places. And a lot of it is even weirder. I just do video games. I just do retro fucking video games. Most of the time. But after Apogee Shareware Showcase is done, we'll be back to Doom 3. The plan is to do Resurrection of Evil, which I haven't finished. I didn't get very far. So, by the looks of things, we are going to see Devi, Deviant Nails. She pops in here and lurks a lot. She's from the UK, much like myself. I believe she's not exactly trying to exert herself this evening. Hot new MILFs in your area. Sling your bra over the line. Alright. I'll see everyone tomorrow for Yoshi's Island. Have fun, take care, good night.